Welcome everybody to the First Friday Entrepreneurship Call with K-State Research and Extension. This project received funding and support from K-State 105, K-State's Economic Growth and Advancement Initiative for all 105 counties in Kansas. The purpose of the First Friday e-call is to increase the community's knowledge of the experts, education, and economic resources available to help small businesses and the communities who love them. As always, the call is being recorded, and you will get a link to the website when it's posted and a copy of the presentation deck. I would really very much like to know at the end of the call, you will get the opportunity to fill in a survey. And the questions will be this. So I hope you'll be thinking about it as you're talking today. Did you learn, or listening today, did you learn something that you can use immediately? How many people will you forward this information to? Word of mouth is just the best advertisement anybody can get. So think about who needs to know this. And then what did you learn today that was most helpful to you? And so with that, I'm going to introduce Quinlan Carttar and Jenny Doty with the Rural Grocery Initiative and the Regional Food Business Centers. Take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Quinlan Carttar, and I work for the Heartland Regional Food Business Center with my colleague, Jenny Doty. I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Yes, so I am Jenny Doty, and I work for the Heartland Regional Food Business Center and the Rural Grocery Initiative. So, Quinlan, do you want to give a little bit of your background? And then I'll give a little bit more of mine.
Sure. So you'll notice underneath this line about the Heartland Regional Food Business Center that we'll be sharing about Kansas Incubator Kitchens, what they are and how they can support our communities today. And so with that, I'd love to share a little bit about my background. My entry point to working in food systems was actually training as a chef and working in a number of incubator kitchens myself. And so it began with COVID mutual aid meals, and then ultimately working in restaurants on the hotline. I've gone on then too to work in culinary operations, a little in food media. And so I was pleased to join the team at Douglas County Extension last fall. And that is where the Heartland Regional Food Business Center is housed. I work with entrepreneurs across the state in food and farm, but love my Northeast Kansas entrepreneurs that I'm able to more often meet with in person. That said, Jenny and I just returned from a conference in Caldwell, Kansas, just a few days ago. So we definitely get out on the road and we connect with food and farm-based enterprises across the state. So with that, Jenny, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, so I am located in Overland Park, Kansas, and also get to serve the whole state between Heartland Regional Food Business Center and the Rural Grocery Initiative. And I'm really proud and happy that I get to serve on both of these teams. I am a K-State grad, and my most recent work before coming here, I started and managed the Lenexa Farmers Market. And then managed that for 7 years. And through that work, I learned that I truly have a passion in supporting food entrepreneurs, food businesses, and our farmers. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with people across the state and bring some of the knowledge I learned at Lenexa and spread it across the state to make businesses more quicker to get started. We've been looking forward to sharing with you about our teams today, and I will be giving you the overview of the Rural Grocery Initiative and the Heartland Regional Food Business Center, while Quinlan will be sharing the overview of what's happening in Kansas and incubator kitchens. We're really excited what's happening in our system. But I will get started with the Rural Grocery Initiative. As a part of the Rural Grocery Initiative, we work with rural communities to support locally owned grocery stores. The goal is to strengthen community vitality and expand access to healthy foods. This means that we are able to assist in identifying needs and share resources to support grocers and their communities. So what do we do exactly, right? Our team provides technical assistance by meeting with grocers and community leaders. Many times it's a one-on-one phone or Zoom call or sometimes it is gathering people in the community to discuss what needs to happen to provide resources for that store or community. We also offer our peer support groups, which is a great way for our grocers to really connect with each other. This program has expanded out and a little bit farther beyond our borders, so we are supporting some neighboring states within it. And it just allows our grocery stores, our grocers specifically, that, you know, as a business owners, sometimes they feel alone and they don't have time to connect with the neighboring grocery store that may be 30 miles away. So allows them to connect and learn from each other's successes and challenges. Through our work, we also create informational resources that grocers rely on to make the best decisions for their stores. They don't have the whole corporate structure. So we help provide some of those resources to them and data that's available and gathering that information. We have case studies. Recently, we just launched our resource library, which is really great to search options in and about rural grocery. We have the Rural Grocery Toolkit and a Rural Grocery Operations Training Program. Our team also hosts educational events, with our largest endeavor being the National Rural Grocery Summit. Another group that we work with is that we partner with the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative. And all this information, I know that I should have mentioned that things are being put in the chat. So hopefully you're able to connect with some of this information later on, and we can provide that for you too later on. The National Rural Grocery Summit, RGI has been hosting a summit and hosts a summit in Kansas starting in 2008. But in 2022, we hosted the first National Rural Grocery Summit. And then we moved it out of the state of Kansas in 2024, and we're able to partner with Auburn University. So last month, we announced that our 2026 summit will be with North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives and the University of Minnesota. We will be hosting this in Fargo, North Dakota, which is set on the border perfectly between Minnesota and North Dakota, with the partners we're working with on this event. Some of our staff just got back yesterday from being able to kind of scout it out, and it's really kind of coming together great. If you think that you might be interested in this, I really would recommend checking out past summit agendas. You know how some events that you could go to, you can't really know what's going to happen, but all the past agendas are actually online, and it's just a robust lineup of engaging presentations. I would have wanted to go to, I think, just about everything. So highly recommend it. Check it out online if it's something of interest to you, or share it with people in your community. The other program that I mentioned was the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative. As a partner of the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, we work with these 4 other organizations, and they are dedicated to a healthier Kansas. This program's goal is to develop, renovate, and expand grocery stores for healthy food in underserved areas across the state. So they have a very specific plan to do that, or project plan for their grant loan mix. So one of the programs is a grant loan mix for projects that are already kind of up and running, that need some more support, or projects that have already done all their planning. One of our newest funding options, though, is the second program, where we have pre-development technical assistance grant available. So this is a brand new option that's available. This last Sunday, it closed, the first round closed, but there's going to be a second round in September 28th. And so this is for businesses that have a project that they have an idea, but they need to maybe have some strategic planning, some helping finding the loans, all of those things. So that is a really great opportunity, because many times we have people come to us with project ideas, but they need to be fleshed out a little bit more. And this is providing that opportunity for that, to help build a stronger and healthier Kansas. So I would definitely check out these online, and there might be someone in your community that would be interested in that. So I'm going to move on from our Rural Grocery Initiative and move into our Heartland Regional Food Business Center. But before that, I want to kind of explain how K-State became a part of the Heartland Regional Food Business Center. So in Kansas, we have our Douglas County Extension team that is led by Marlon Bates, and the Rural Grocery Initiative that's led by Ryle Carver. And both of them were already doing work with food businesses and entrepreneurs. So once the opportunity for the food business centers came up, they put their heads together and joined efforts to lead K-State's involvement in the Regional Food Business Center. In the US, there are 12 regional food business centers, and it is a program that was developed by the USDA. Within the Heartland region, we have 13 key partners in our 5-state region and 20 collaborators. So we are really lucky with the team that we have. I should go back and say that the Heartland Center makes up with Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Oklahoma, and then we are also supporting 9 counties in the northwest part of Arkansas. So the goal is to provide technical assistance, which we do that by providing one-on-one meetings with business owners, with communities, group trainings, and educational programs. One of the fun things to do is to increase this coordination that we're trying to do across the 5 states. But I also like to share that we do a lot of coordination from business to business and community to community. And you'll see that today with Quinlan's presentation of how we're trying to coordinate and share with you what's happening in different areas and supporting projects and lining you up with models that have been successful and have done really well, and showing you all the options that are available to start like an incubator kitchen. Then the third purpose is our capacity building. So with the regional food business centers, we have the opportunity with the Business Builder grants to provide sub-awards to businesses to expand and grow their business. So that is our capacity building. And then within K-State Research and Extension, we have a couple other pieces I'll talk about with that capacity building. But you might be wondering, like, who do we actually support? And so this is kind of a list of people you might keep in mind. Some of you may be some of these businesses, and many of you probably work with a lot of these people. So these are the type of organizations we support. And then within their process, we support from harvest to fork. So this is very specific for farmers. We are not, this funding and the support we do isn't necessarily for the work that they're doing out in the field, but once that product is harvested or once that meat has been taken to the processor, then we step on board and try to get that product to market and help in different ways. So hopefully that makes a little sense to you on who might receive our assistance across the state. So with capacity building, Marlon and Ryle actually requested some funding through our collaborators so we could do some more work for the state. So these are services that we're continuing to do. And the Department of Agriculture, beyond some of the capacity building that we have with the From Land of Kansas, our Kansas Department of Agriculture team is such a great technical assistance provider for us. I think it's almost weekly that I am connecting a business to the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and they are wonderful at getting people directly to the person that they need. It is really great because sometimes it feels like a burden to kind of get onto a large website and try to find who do I need. But our staff over there, our collaborators are just amazing at doing that. So if you have someone struggling finding the right place, we can get you usually within 24 hours. They're back and they're communicating with that business, which is just amazing service. Within that, Kansas Department of Agriculture, they have their From the Land to Kansas program. And this got included in the grant as one of our collaborators. And we also refer people to the From the Land to Kansas program to receive $200 of member services. And they offer a wide variety of marketing related programs, including their trademark program where you can really identify that your product was made in Kansas. So a lot of people go to them for UPC codes and several other of their really wonderful services to help businesses kind of not have that added cost. Another thing that reduces costs for our food businesses, especially if they're creating a processed food, we have the Kansas Value Added Foods Lab. So they provide a lot of technical assistance for our food businesses that are trying to create products like jams, pickles, barbecue sauces, just about anything that you find on your shelves in the grocery store. They know how to process those foods safely and help our clients do that so they can get on shelves in the store. So what's exciting is that we can add or we can provide 2 of the food testing and labelings for businesses. So this is actually allowing us to get more Kansas products on shelves or on tables at farmers markets and really helping expand businesses getting started. And what's really exciting is for those that have never done any food testing before, it gets them connected to the process and how to work with the Kansas Value Added Foods Lab. They're a great team as well. And so it kind of gets them over that hump of being scared to go through that process. Our third collaborator today is our Kansas Small Business Development Center. I know I saw them come onto the call as well. They had a lot of people that were finalists in the Business Builder Awards that they provided assistance to that we had referred them over to. But they have a lot of workshops that are virtual, especially in our Wichita office. They have a lot of virtual workshops that people all over the state of Kansas can get in on and learn more about how to support their business and the things that they need to be doing. They have a long list of resources that they can provide. So we send probably, I would say, at least 50 to 75% of our clients and connect them in with KSBDC. And then we have Shop Kansas Farms. And they are building an exciting new program to develop consultant businesses for, especially for our farm businesses that are are kind of at the top of their game, right? They have not, they are always the person that people are looking towards and asking questions. And we also want to continue to keep that brain power available in your community. If someone retires, we want to make sure that people might be able to still utilize their consultant services, and it provides another revenue stream for that farm or that food business. And we have a lot of really wonderful people in Kansas that share their expertise very freely, and I don't expect that to stop happening. It's just this is an opportunity for the time that they spent to maybe create that revenue stream. And then we have the Kansas. So these next 3 are projects that our team, Quinlan and I specifically, are working on with several other people. And we are so proud that our January issue of our Kansas Food First magazine was released. So many of you might have gotten that in the mail. This is going to be a biennial issue or biannual issue. And we really want to support and lift up all of the business stories, hardworking businesses in Kansas related to food. And it's another way that we can share that collaboration piece, and people can know that in Northeast Kansas, they're doing this. Oh, we could maybe replicate that in Northwest Kansas or in Southeast Kansas. It's a really great way to see what's happening across the state. And we try to be very representative of everything in all sections of the state within that magazine. We do have a professional development scholarship. And so this is for our clients to attend trainings and conferences related to their food business. And will allow them to grow when many times they don't have the opportunity when the margins are so tight. So we're really happy to offer that to our clients. And then the third thing, big project and super excited about is this new idea of the Food Business Startup Summit. So it's not just an everyday conference. It's going to be a summit that is for food entrepreneurs, and we are going to bring in key informants and technical advisors to help these businesses focus specifically on projects within their business or to start up a business completely. So it's going to be a little bit more of a unique opportunity that we're trying out in the state, and I'm excited to host that later this fall. So you'll be hearing information about that. And then, so this is our business. We'll move into our Business Builder Sub-Award. So some of you may have already heard or know that we had released our sub-award in August of 2024. The applications came back, and we have been able to at least list our finalists out for the grant. Currently, the funding is on hold by the Secretary of Agriculture, and once we're very positive and really hopeful that we will be able to continue to do this work. But when we get back to it, we will be combining our round 2 and 3 into one round, and still giving out the same amount of funding. We haven't reduced that funding. We just combined it into a couple rounds. I know I heard from a couple people that thought we just got rid of the third round and did away with some funding, but that's not happened. It all got combined into one round. But these grants are for between $5,000 and $50,000. What's really exciting about it is that there's no match required. So it really is an influx of capacity building and cash into these businesses to really get things into operation or things started. I put the timeline down here because everything's to be determined pending the review from the USDA. So, but typically it's a 2-month opening for the applications. And then I just put that it took us about 4 months for the applications to be due and to release them. I think Quinlan and I believe that if we're able to do this, we'll probably be doing it much quicker because we've been through our first round. So we have a lot of, we know that our team can do it. We want to get it done quick. And get that money out to businesses. So you're wondering what projects could businesses in my community actually do? And it has a wide range. So business planning, especially with those feasibility studies, a lot of times people have issues with questioning what legal needs they need to cover, so it can help with that. Marketing is a big one that we had people apply for. Getting an updated website or an improved website, especially if it can sell things for them. All sorts of branding and marketing materials. They can also develop new products and expand existing products. The equipment to improve efficiencies or add equipment was a huge amount of the projects that we saw in the first round. So we saw a lot of that. Some states actually don't have our wonderful Kansas Value Added Foods Lab that we do, and they use our lab at a higher cost. So many of them would put their products, labels, and packaging onto the grant here, but we would be pulling those off of ours and giving them to them as part of our resources. So it's not a double dip for us, at least. And then we're improving processing and distribution. We saw in here a lot of incubator kitchen equipment, a lot of expansion of incubator kitchens, and then the transportation vehicles, which you don't see very often for delivery in grants. So that was very exciting for a lot of people because they really get hung up on that distribution piece. So then we want to also create and expand markets. So there was grants written for supports. I know we had at least one Kansas farmers market that was included, and some of the farm stands, CSAs, and UPICs as well. So those are some of the projects that happen, that could happen through this grant. So this is a screenshot of a map that we have. The USDA created a story map with our Business Builder finalists. And I would like to note on Liberal over here, there's two stacked on top of there. So I don't want to note, I want to notate that there's two there instead of just one. But these are live and available for you to review on the Story Maps website. Quinlan, I know that on our notes there's a link. Can you put that in there? I don't think that was on Nancy's list to list.
Yeah.
But
Already on it.
yeah, that link is really an amazing map. What you can do is you can go out and see what these businesses put forward for their project and get a better feel for what made it to the top. So we are really excited and proud of our state. We had 25 Kansas businesses out of the 89 for the 5-state region made our finalists. So big, huge kudos. I know that there's many people on the call that provided technical assistance to these people. We have extension agents that I know these people and they've been involved. And thank you so much for your work and huge work from all of our businesses. We were really thrilled that that total added up to a little over $1 million that would come back to the state once we hope that these come off of hold. So definitely check out this map. You can look at all sorts of stuff, and if you're a business or you're working with a business, you can kind of find a project that's maybe similar to yours that we can maybe find ways to learn some lessons from them across the state. So I'll leave you with these connections. Since our grant is on pause and we hope that we are able to release that second round of the Business Builder, and you might be a business or you might have a business you're working with, I would recommend signing up for the newsletter. And then also just kind of reaching out to Quinlan and I. Our emails will be at the bottom, but that way we can keep you on a list. So as soon as that we know that that funding may be available, you can start working on that grant. But I will leave one caveat. So even though we are putting that funding forward right now, the businesses are not getting funded at this point since it's on pause, we are still moving forward with all of our technical assistance with all the projects we're doing. And we are happy to talk to any business or community that might be interested in the Business Builder grant. So during this time, you can still consider your options and whether things would be eligible. So we can get you lined up for a really good project and have just as many great applications for the state in that pool if we get to go to the next round. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Quinlan. Quinlan, is there anything that I missed or?
I don't think so. Thank you so much, Jenny. I just want to take a moment to appreciate and give it up for Jenny, not least of all because today's her birthday.
Oh.
So I would be remiss if I did not mention that.
Yes,
Thanks, Jenny.
and as I think your mother's on this call, and you said that your mother, I'm call she or Quinlan has some family that's on this call, which is amazing. I just want to give huge kudos to Quinlan. She's come into this position, and was very green in their career, but has like just jumped in and keeps me on my toes. So, but as Jennifer, your mother, says that she's forever 29, I think I'm gonna say that too. So sorry, Jennifer, she shared that with me, and I will continue to say that too. So
Oh.
turning it over to you. Sorry, I turned you red, but Quinlan is amazing. And I will say that you can reach out to both of us. We're in communication on a very regular basis, and we lean on each other for support. So if we get on a call and we realize, oh, Quinlan would have been a better fit for this or for this question, we will make sure to connect you to that person too. all yours.
Yes, and thank you so much for stressing that although the grants are on hold, our technical assistance, value chain coordination, those things are not on pause. And we do that technical assistance with members of the community and businesses every day. So please do reach out. With that, I'm going to take us into an overview of incubator kitchens in Kansas, what they are, why they're important, and what your community could stand to gain from seeing them developed. So let's see, I think it'll be our next slide, please. There we are. Thank you. So jumping into incubator kitchens and what they are, forgive me, one more slide. Here we are. Thank you. So incubator kitchens are shared use kitchens. You may have also heard them referred to as ghost kitchens, commissary kitchens. They're commercial kitchens that are licensed by the Kansas Department of Agriculture. They've been inspected and are certified for food production to be sold directly to consumers or wholesale. These facilities are often rented hourly or daily, depends on kind of what the model is employed by any given one. But what they tend to have in common is that they're likely used by startup food businesses in need of their first facility. It could be a home-based business that wishes to legalize and grow their operation. Perhaps they've been doing custom cakes for family members and friends' birthdays. We hear this a lot from clients who say, I was just baking for the family and friends or just bringing in my candies to the office, but after folks tried my products, they insisted I should really sell this. And so we see folks like that getting into incubator kitchens, as well as established businesses that are looking to grow or reach a new market. And so you might be asking yourself, why use an incubator kitchen? And what distinguishes an incubator kitchen from these other models that I mentioned, the commissary, the ghost kitchen? The benefits of using an incubator kitchen for whether you're starting out as a food business or a food business is looking to scale its operations. It could be that they want to do R&D, a little bit of research and development of testing new food products, or if they're just looking to get their products onto shelves. It's essentially a resource that helps them reduce the overhead of starting a food business. I recently saw an analogy that I really liked, which is if one is pursuing fitness for the first time, on your fitness journey, one of the first steps might be joining a gym. And that does not require building your own gym and acquiring your own equipment, which is really expensive and often a barrier to entry for, in this analogy, of course, then food businesses that think, do I really need to open a brick and mortar restaurant in order to get my food business off the ground? That's why incubators, that's where they come in. What distinguishes an incubator from a commissary kitchen or ghost kitchen, which might just be facilities and equipment to make commercially available food products, while those facilities are fantastic and very necessary. What distinguishes the incubator kitchen is that it often will offer these other two resources, which is guidance on regulations and the ability to collaborate and network with other food businesses utilizing this space. So we'll share a couple of examples throughout this presentation about different models and what that mentorship might look like, but it's often kitchen incubator managers or folks using the other folks using that same incubator. In my experience as a cook using an incubator kitchen, when we were making some packaged lunches that would be catered for a company that might reach out to us about boxed lunches that follow certain dietary restrictions. Well, we partnered with another company using this same incubator kitchen that did CPG, consumer packaged goods, which were individually packaged desserts like brownies and cookies. And so we didn't have to look far when it came to thinking about dessert options to add to these boxed lunches. We were able to source those in-house with a relationship that had already been established, because multiple stations in an incubator kitchen might mean multiple teams are in there at the same time. And so we didn't have to see an uptick in our own overhead or in labor or ingredients to create our own desserts. Instead, we were able to just ask the folks at the station next to us. And so you see that type of collaboration often in incubator kitchens. So you as a community leader have been in communication with a food business, whether existing or brand new. This slide is perfect, thank you. And they've come to you with questions about food production and regulations. We need to determine whether a licensed kitchen is needed. So license requirements are based on what type of food product a producer is making, as well as their process and how they plan to sell the product. So in the case that it will be direct to consumer, we refer folks first step to the foods sold directly to consumers in Kansas. It is a food safety best practice guide that is actually housed online at the K-State bookstore. So on the next slide, which we don't need to go to quite yet, there will be a QR code. And thank you, Amanda, for also dropping the link in the chat where you can view this. I think it's a 26 or 28 page document that has got an if this, then this for just about every value-added food product you can imagine. I know Jenny chatted a little about value-added products, but essentially anything that's harvested from the farm in its raw form, as soon as you add value, you add any other type of product. It could be baked goods added to that wheat that's been harvested from the farm, or vinegar, salt, and sugar to make a cucumber into a pickle, and on and on. So that is a major user of incubator kitchens, are those value-added producers. That guide is definitely kind of our food safety Bible as far as producing these products. But it's important too, in this same breath, to consider the requirements of the location of selling. For example, certain farmers markets have got it in their code that they require, if you're going to be selling your honey that you bottle on the farm, but one day you can't make it to market and you think like, well, I already sell at the farmer's market. I'll have my neighbor, a neighboring farm or a neighboring table or tent at the farmer's market, sell this for me instead. At this point, the product has become wholesale because technically you have handed the product over to someone else to sell for you. And so it's important to be aware of the location of the selling, how you're selling that product. In terms of wholesale, all food must be made, again, because it changes hands there and is going to be distributed by another seller. Without exception, all foods must be made in a licensed kitchen. So with that, next slide, please. Here's a link to our guide, which is updated very regularly. It's funny, this version that you see, the screenshot that says revised in January 2025, this is a collaborative effort, and the folks on the ground, like farmers market managers, like folks that host food expos and other events where there might be food sampling, they reach out to us or to our colleagues at the Kansas Department of Agriculture and say, there seems to be a little gray area around how I can go about sampling wine, for example. And so it's funny, this guide was updated late 2024, released in January, and our team has come back to the drawing board twice since then, in February and again in April, to accommodate questions like that. And so we really appreciate our collaborative partners across the state that want to make sure we can help food and farm entrepreneurs operate within the parameters of what is legal under KDA. And everyone wants to we all have the same goal, which is to produce, sell, and us also as consumers to enjoy Kansas-made products that are safe and abide by regulations. And so this is absolutely your first stop as far as that's concerned. So in this hypothetical scenario where a food business has come to you, you've determined that a commercial kitchen is needed. So what's next? We typically recommend folks start by looking around to see if there's an existing kitchen in their community. Fortunately, the Kansas Department of Agriculture has a fantastic incubator kitchen guide. Amanda just dropped the link to that in the chat. And as far as other experts in your community might be concerned, we also regularly hear that folks have reached out to their local K-State Research and Extension office, which, as many of you know on this call, I'm sure you're aware that KSRE has representation in all 105 counties of the state, and that is part of our extension mandate. And so your extension agents or local extension office is definitely a great resource, and they'll be able to help steer you toward locating an existing kitchen in your community. Let's say that you find that the nearest incubator kitchen is a whole 90 minutes away. And we often find that folks that are looking to pivot into becoming food producers, in many cases, they have a day job as well. And so the side hustle of getting the spices company off the ground on the side might mean that you simply cannot drive 90 minutes, or the entrepreneur you're working with simply cannot drive 2 hours to the nearest incubator kitchen. In that case, there are two options from there. Sometimes folks go the route of designing and building a kitchen from scratch. And there are some really marvelous examples of that in our state that we're excited to share a little bit more about. In other cases, converting an existing structure it may make more sense economically in terms of grants that are available to members of your community. It might be that there are buildings that have existing commercial kitchen equipment in some cases that just make sense to bring an inspector out from the Department of Agriculture and evaluate what might it take for us to convert this location into an incubator kitchen. And so we'll get into some of those examples. Here is that resource for locating an existing kitchen, and the link is also in the chat. Thanks again, Amanda. Next slide, please. So here is a map of the Kansas incubator kitchens as of 2025, present and future. Those in the purple squares indicate the ones in the fantastic Kansas Department of Agriculture Incubator Kitchen Guide, and we can see those distributed across the state. Fortunately, there is at least one incubator kitchen in each of our 6 regions, our North, East, Central, and West, and Southeast, Central, and West Kansas. But those that appear in the circles, you can see in the legend off to the left that several were funded by business builders. As Jenny was describing her presentation, those are in the gold circles. In blue are the K-State Blueprint Initiative, K-State 105 and Network Kansas, their Blueprint Initiative funded 4 incubator kitchens in the state that are either under construction or just beginning to come into operations now. I mentioned we recently, just a few days ago, had the chance to travel to South Central Kansas to Caldwell and tour the forthcoming Border Queen Harvest Hub. And that is in circle 4 at the very bottom of the state, one of those blue circles. And lastly, in green are the RFSI funded kitchens. That is the Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Grant from USDA. So very exciting to see 6 RFSI, 4 K-State 105, and 2 incubators for 12, is my math right? 12 total incubator kitchens, new ones coming into existence in 2025, and we're thrilled to see it. Many of you on the call provided technical assistance, perhaps helped find different funding sources to help make those kitchens happen. And so props to you. Thank you. As you and other community leaders evaluate potential shared kitchen spaces in your communities, if you're going the route of design building or converting an existing space, it's important to consider the necessary components for a KDA approved kitchen. They're required to have a 3-compartment sink. And as you likely know, that's for soapy water and for sanitizer, so the dishes can go through that full sanitization process. It's also required that there is a hand washing sink in the facility and a bathroom that is accessible from that space. It's important that the bathroom not be a separate structure, for example, if it's on a farm. And it's important, we like to elaborate on the accessible kitchen. It is not required that that be an ADA accessible kitchen, bathroom, but rather a bathroom that is accessible immediately from the kitchen. And lastly, of course, perhaps most importantly, food safety compliance at the time of inspection and ongoing. KDA has a slogan that they use with food entrepreneurs in order to talk about, how best to maintain food safety compliance. And it is to be your own inspector daily. So we like to keep that one in our pocket. Nice to haves include, let's say you're touring a space and it is a community center that is no longer in operation. If you find that it has these amenities, the refrigerators, freezers, stovetops, counter space, those are kind of the really nice to haves that we do see folks applying to acquire with the business builder grants and others. I'll say about the business builder that as far as eligible costs go, certain types of equipment are definitely allowed, and we saw so many refrigerators and freezers in that first round. So those are definitely nice to haves. But in terms of what we see with incubator kitchens that are just getting started, and I have cooked in some of these myself, the reason that a stovetop, for example, is a nice to have but not a requirement is that I worked in a kitchen that had 4 induction burners. Some were electric that you plugged in, and some were literally butane, like camper stoves that you might cook on when you go camping. And so those things can be and absolutely are, a valid heat element for canning, for cooking and other types of production. And so in some cases, folks have opened their incubator kitchen, used that as their heat source while they apply for grants or seek used equipment at auction, for example. It can be a challenge to find those commercial equipment pieces. As we know, that's one of the barriers of entry, one of the reasons that folks use incubator kitchens when starting a food business versus acquiring their own 8-burner Viking stove with a commercial sized oven and a hood. Those of us that are familiar with that type of equipment know that the hood alone could be $40,000 to $50,000, maybe another 10 to 20 to install. And so this is where we definitely tell folks, keep an eye on those auctions. If you see that a food business in your community is going out of business, or let's say the school district has chosen to close down one of the elementary schools to combine children into the other existing schools, or another is being built because this building has, the roof is crumbling or something like that. You'll see that commercial kitchen equipment go up for auction and be available for 10 to 20% of the cost it would be to buy it new. And so we love to hear from, in fact, there are business builder finalists that are building a bakery in St. John in South Central Kansas that did exactly that, and were showing me the equipment just a few weeks ago. And they found a proofing box, an oven, and a cooler for something like, it was like $1,000 total. And any one of those things would be multiple thousands new. So very much recommend keeping an eye on auctions for those pieces of equipment. We also recommend that folks look for these spaces that have as much existing electrical power and storage space as possible. And we'll get a little bit more into why. So on our next slide, we've got a link to the Kansas Department of Agriculture guide to designing and building a kitchen. It'll walk you through all the steps on starting a food business, submitting plans, and whether you're converting a kitchen or starting from scratch, you'll need to use this guide to ensure that your kitchen is licensable. They'll review your plans and then assist with making sure that your plans are good to go before you start building and remodeling, because of course that would be a very expensive mistake to make if you made a logistical error, for example, of putting a really, really hot grill right next to your walk-in freezer. That might be problematic. And the inspectors at KDA will help determine how best to lay out the kitchen, things to consider, and where to start. So on our next slide, I'll cast your minds back to, we were looking at, you can either build a kitchen custom or you can go the route of converting a space. Here's an example, a regional kitchen spotlight from Northeast Kansas. Many of you may be aware of the K-State Food Innovation Accelerator in Olathe that is steered by Brian Severns, one of our dear and brilliant colleagues who is an educator, a food scientist, and a chef himself. So this is a custom-built kitchen that is one of the most impressive facilities I have ever seen. There are 5 work areas. Some are distinct kitchens in separate rooms, and it's just got extensive workspace. So this is an example of one of those kitchens I mentioned where there might be multiple teams in there working the space at the same time. Something to keep in mind if you're thinking about an incubator kitchen as a revenue source in your community is that the more folks you can have in there working, renting the space at a time, then of course that exponentially increases the revenue possible from this space. And that is why we recommend, and in fact, it's Brian Severance who imparted this wisdom upon me that was sort of a light bulb moment of course, if you can maximize the amount of electricity and storage space available in these spaces, it means more commercial equipment operational at any given time. It also means that folks can store maybe it's their specialty equipment, like an ice cream producer does not want to schlep the 200-pound ice cream machine in and out of the facility every time they come to do production. They have a space where they can store that, then you can charge rent on the shelf where they store it. And the same goes for the producers that use this commercial kitchen to make and freeze hundreds of pies at a time, for example. It would be really challenging for them to take those pies home and fit them all in their own freezer, not to mention, in many cases, not up to regulation. And so if you've got that freezer space, that refrigeration space, storage in a cooler is equally as invaluable as storage on a shelf so that folks can keep their products there, keep coming back to you, and you can also consider it another alternative revenue stream. In the case of this kitchen, the technical assistance, what makes it a true incubator is that it's got those incubation services of technical assistance, of mentorship from Brian and his team we've noticed you're using the commercial size sheet pan to bake the cake and the oven to put it in. But when you pull the cake out, we noticed you're still cutting that by hand. It could be because you're not comfortable or don't know how to use this commercial slicer. Allow us to show you, and it will improve the efficiency of your operation tenfold. And so that technical assistance piece is key to the scaling of the businesses of the folks using these kitchens. And I can say too, from personal experience, it's very necessary. If you look at a tilt skillet, for those of you that know what it is a large, almost like a plancha with deep walls. And so it's a skillet, but it's the size of a smart car. And so it's got a big crank that you use to tip it on its side and pour out the soup or the rice or the sauteed vegetables, whatever it is that you're preparing in there. And so if you started out as a home cook, your operation has been with much smaller equipment, you might look at this and think, I'm not touching that. So the technical assistance piece is really key to help folks get comfortable. Next slide, please. Here's another regional spotlight. This is the shared kitchen in Wichita, another custom-built kitchen that includes hotlines. It also is very unique in that it includes space for food trucks to park overnight or to park between gigs. And that space can be rented with or without access to the kitchen. So we see some really unique approaches to this model. Next slide, please. So when sharing a kitchen, what could be used as a shared kitchen based on existing amenities? We talked a little bit about community centers, schools, places of worship. Many already have existing commercial kitchens. It's worth inquiring as well. We're aware of several examples of this around the state of operational restaurants that pay rent on the space 365, 7 days a week, but many are operational maybe Tuesday or Wednesday through Saturday or Sunday, and they close for that restaurant industry weekend, which might be Sunday, Monday, Monday, Tuesday, but restaurateurs are still paying rent on the space for those days. So even if this arrangement is not already existing, many have been amenable to opening up the kitchen to use as an incubator on the days that the kitchen is not operational. And so it's absolutely worth inquiring about in your own community. In Manhattan, the Hungry Chickpea is a restaurant that shares its kitchen with TheraPie, a baking production company. And so in Lawrence too, in Douglas County, I'm aware of at least one restaurant that follows this model as well. As far as the, we'll jump into the next slide. I want to keep an eye on the time. I think I've been a little bit, when you have a topic you're passionate about, it's too easy to just get going. And so I want to sort of pick it up for these next couple slides. Here's an example of an existing restaurant that was, when this one restaurant closed its door, another restaurant moved in, Emerald City Foods, with the vision of also creating an attached incubator, which they did in 2022. In addition to their incubator, they are also getting ready to open a grocery store attached as well. And so Emerald City Foods has been on the cutting edge in Toronto, Kansas, which is in Southeast Kansas, of stemming the food insecurity that they've seen in their community. It includes also a 60+ dining program for seniors at no cost to them, as well as they're serving as a CSA pickup site, which is that community sourced agriculture, which they've done in conjunction with K-State, and so with K-State Research and Extension. So we're pleased to see the many forms of collaboration that this takes, but they're really a leader in incubator kitchens that I find super inspiring. Here's another example of a converted kitchen, which is pretty darn cool. It is a culinary incubator in Hanston, Kansas, that's housed in the former high school. When the school closed its doors in 2010, the Economic Development Office saw a real opportunity. And so you can see this is sort of the break room kitchen, and the major conversion piece necessary was just putting in the 3-compartment sink. And so they offer special rates to low energy users, such as cake decorators or honey bottlers that are not using the demanding electricity of the commercial equipment. And so that's kind of an interesting model to keep in mind when we think about different ways of charging producers to use these spaces. Next slide, please. So when converting a non-kitchen space, based on existing amenities, what would lend itself well to being converted? We've seen basements and garages, as well as warehouse units converted. So one of the incubator kitchens that I worked in was a former barber shop, because as you can imagine, there are stations all throughout that have a boatload of electricity. Every barber needed a space to plug in their clippers. And so there are a mountain of electrical outlets already ready to go. A laundromat is another great example, potentially even better because those outlets will be 220 volts and ready to accommodate that commercial kitchen equipment. Something we do note as far as bringing up a non-kitchen space to code, as far as fire suppression or food safety, it is absolutely something that you should consult the Department of Agriculture and your local municipal codes about. And they'll be a great resource to help make sure that everything is safe and ready to go. Next slide, please. The Bushton Plaza Incubator Kitchen is a great example of a converted space that was not originally a kitchen, and it is a space inside of their city hall. It is a joint operation between the City of Bushton and the Bushton Recreation Commission. They have a ton of dry storage and refrigerated storage, so that's another great example of folks that are really taking advantage of holistically helping food entrepreneurs access all the resources that they will need. Next slide, please. We tell our clients all the time that the Kansas Department of Agriculture is pro-business. They want you to be successful. They want to come eat at your restaurant. And of course, we're all on the same side. So I have never met an inspector who practiced what we fear sometimes in the restaurant industry as they're coming here to bust me. They're trying to catch me doing something wrong. In fact, KDA are educators and comrades in this food production and food safety space. And so when food businesses in your community connect with a KDA inspector to schedule their appointment, they can ask questions to ensure that they're on the right track. Once the appointment is scheduled, then the inspection will take place in the kitchen. It's important to note that while the incubator kitchen must be inspected, so must every producer that uses it. So if 25 producers use your incubator kitchen, it'll be inspected 25 times a year. One of the most common items that can fail a kitchen inspection is the water temperature. And so it's minor things that we have to make sure everything is up to KDA code, but a really great resource that, Jenny, I wonder if you wouldn't mind dropping in the chat. I didn't include it, but a link to the KDA Food Safety Task Force. They have excellent slide decks that live there on the website that include things like top 10 most common infractions. It's the things that they want to help work with you on. It might be that you're at the farmer's market and they test the cooler and it's just 2 degrees above, 1 degree above where it should be. They'll suggest, like, maybe try ordering the items in here in a different way. I'll do a lap of the farmer's market and come back and check it again in a few minutes. KDA inspectors want to work with you and will. Nancy, I noticed the time, and so I want to just go ahead and wrap. If you wouldn't mind jumping ahead to the slide that says, how do we help from here? I want folks to be aware that if you're a business on this call, we would love to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call with you, share resources, and help see how we can support you. And if you are a community leader, you or your team, we would love to schedule a call to better understand your community needs and projects, and we can share resources to help get your incubator kitchen to where you need it to be. So thank you very much for having us. Appreciate it.
Wow, that was
If you wouldn't mind switching to the slide with our emails, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
That was great, Quinlan and Jenny. Your stories, while it may have made it longer, it really helped us to understand and visualize what's going on. And as someone who will never never start a restaurant or a food business, I am greatly appreciative that we have a diverse source of foods and that you are making them aware of food safety and that I can continue to eat with great assurance. I'm going to take all of the links and URLs and include them with your PDF of your slide deck. So it'll be right at the front of your slide deck so that people can see them. And again, and to respect the time, thank you for that. I want to do just a few announcements. Quinlan or Jenny, somebody from the food business will be at our Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference on June 25th through 27th. And the beautiful thing about the CEC is that it's an embedded conference, no staying in a hotel and walking downstairs to the ballroom. In this conference, we'll go to Kingman, Kansas, and one of the workshops will be, the gathering will be at the hangar, where a local entrepreneur has made a venue place for us to all be at. We'll walk down the street to various locations to have embedded workshops among those locations. So if we'd love to have you join us, and we'd love to have those food entrepreneurs there too, because they're going to be learning lots about how to not be alone in their business. Our remote work initiative has a remote work Wednesday call. And this month on May 14th is the title of the call is Working Effectively with Remote Clients. We still have grant writing basics classes online. Is the registration is there, and we have 4 that are scheduled in the next 2 months in Parsons, Hill City, Bonner Springs, and Junction City. And you can find the registration information for those in-person events there. If you don't have access to Kansas Leadership Center training in your community, then be our partner, and you can join the Kansas Leadership Path and be connected with a diverse group of community partners who want to work together for good. Okay, if you'd like to promote all of these training events, these opportunities in your local newsletter or social media, we can help make that easy for you. And to do that, just send us an email and say, send me the logos and send me the graphics to promote the Kansas State Research and Extension Community Vitality events. All right, our next call, Jennifer Tidwell, are you here? Our next call will be All Things Kansas, a website that uses national, state, and local resources to help analyze and visualize data across Kansas communities. Do you want to add anything, Jennifer?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nancy. My name is Jennifer Tidball. I'm the Communications Director for Economic Development at K-State. And as Nancy said, next month, we are going to do a walkthrough and demo of All Things Kansas. So that's a free data platform that K-State has launched. We pull 30,000 data layers from 120 federal and state sources. So the thought is that it can be a one-stop shop for Kansas data. So if you are a grant writer, if you're a community leader, if you ever just need a good research tool to help map trends and topics across Kansas, or if you want to compare counties or pull really thorough reports, that's what this tool is used for. So we will walk you through the platform. We'll show you how to use it. And then we usually try to do some live demos as well and kind of pull some maps and things to show you. So we hope that you'll be able to join us.
Thank you very much. Okay, I always like to leave our calls with a thought to live by. And our thought for today is, a garden is always a series of losses set against a few triumphs, like life itself. And ironically, like Jenny Doty's birthday is today, this author's birthday is coincidentally tomorrow, but she's 113, probably still saying eternally 29. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.